going to.
You were also taking the bull by the horn in a sense, because one of your first television forays was in a film called Dreams, which you wrote the teleplay for. Discuss that.
While in Toronto during the winter of the 3 years that I spent in the summer with Stratford, I was running around doing films, television, and radio, and writing. And then I wrote a television drama, in which I cast the girl that I subsequently married, became the mother of my 3 children.
Tell us about that drama.
Well, I sat at home and wrote, and then I submitted, and then they liked it, and I guess they must have changed it and rewrote it so it made it better. It couldn't have been very good because I didn't know what I was doing. But I had an idea. I've forgotten what the idea was. And I wrote I wrote 3 or 4 dramas right away. And I think I sold 2 or 3 of them. It was quite good. And then there was this lovely doe-like woman who came and was tremulous and on the edge of the pasture of life, and just struck up my fancy, and we struck up a friendship.
Her name?
Her professional name was Gloria Rand.
And you had a life experience right before you started getting involved in television in a very significant way that changed your life significantly. As I understand, you were in a car accident. Is that...
I think what you're referring to is I was on my way to Toronto in a little tiny Morris Minor car that I had bought for $500 and had everything I owned in the world. Everything I had, all my clothes, everything was in the back seat. I was on my way to Toronto to make my fortune as an actor. And I was coming over a bridge on the rainy night that I was driving Highway 2 from Montreal to Toronto. And a semi was coming at me. And this little Morris Minor, you could pick them up. A strong man could pick up one end. They were lighter than a Volkswagen thing, I think. And this Morris Minor shook on the bridge and almost flew off. And as I continued on shaken, I realized that if I'd gone over into the water, that all traces of me would have disappeared. There would have been nothing of me left. Memory of my sisters and mind and my parents' mind, but that would have been it. And that thought had never entered my callow mind, and it did change me.
How did it change you professionally?
No, I don't know professionally, but if you change personally, it changes you professionally. Wow, defeat and disgrace. And
well, let's look at the golden age of television. Prior to your involvement, you just received the Tyrone Guthrie Award, Most Promising Actor, and you moved to New York with your new wife.
Right.
And decided to get involved in television. Subsequently, you would appear in over 100 television shows during that period alone.
Mm-hmm.
Had you ever... What was your first experience with television? When did you first see it?
I was in Canada. Yeah, that's an interesting question. When did I first see television? I first became aware of television when I was at in Ottawa in that repertory company for I think I was there 3 years, 2 or 3 years. I was playing every night, so I didn't know that, and television had come to the United States, but it came maybe 10 years later to Canada, and I was totally ensconced in Canada. So I remember seeing it in Ottawa as a curiosity at a bar or something. You know, some place public had it. But then when I went on to Toronto from Ottawa and coming back and forth from Stratford, I began to knock on doors in television producers with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And I was a very unusual person. I was a juvenile who had 5 years of continuous theater background. I was doing a play a week, play 2 weeks. Sometimes I'd have a couple of weeks off. But I had the kind of experience that nobody had. Very few people. In Canada, nobody had my experience. Doing the radio, doing the theater that I was doing, and then going to television. I mean, I knew how to learn lines instantly. I had the savoir-faire, the confidence of facing an audience with very little knowledge of what I was about. The actor's nightmare is to appear naked and not know your lines. I have a different kind of dream. I dream I'm making love to the audience. I dream that the audience and I are one. That's my dream. And at my best, that's what happens. So they'd say, would you read this part? And I'd read the part. And if I was right, I'd get the part in those years. It was what I did.
It was unprecedented vis-a-vis your colleagues in acting.
Yeah, but being in Canada, there were very few people like me. A young, juvenile, athletic, knowledgeable about theater, which was what television was.
So for you, television was not a curiosity for very long.
No, television was a one-act play that I'd done so many of. And now we act in this play, and there happens to be some cameras over there. But then I even began to feel that cameras were an audience. In those years, the cameras...
Let me stop you there, and we'll continue.